your blue skies. I miss your clear blue skies and drinking water streams. I miss your mountains. I miss your sunrise and your watercolor scenes. Ooh, Alaska, I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
For 6 years, Jay Hammond and his crew have journeyed across Alaska. Down the trail, they met over 68 unique Alaskans doing unusual, uplifting, often courageous things in a land they trade for no other. As a pilot, commercial fisherman, writer, homesteader, and former governor, Jay's life mirrors the character and spirit of those Alaskans who have carved out a life to their own design. Alascom is proud to have sponsored the Jay Hammond's Alaska series, an enduring tribute to the grandeur of Alaska's land and the warmth of its people. Join us for a celebration of the wonderful people who call Alaska home.
Alaska, I'm coming home.
How about that?
Alaska.
Below the sheltering peaks of the Chugach Range lies the rich, fertile land of the banana belt of Alaska, called the Matanuska Valley. Here we met still another breed of Alaskan, folks who know very well the science of the soil and proudly carry with them a sense of place, of duty, along with a steadfast belief in the rewards of their close-to-the-earth lifestyle.
We had a choice, my wife and I, we had 3 young children in the early 50s of being relocated. We'd been to Alaska and we loved it. Came up and we've never been sorry from that day on.
In this valley, Paul Huppert and his family raised some of Alaska's finest produce. For Paul, the values that drew him to Alaska remain.
And I still think there's a lot of opportunities in Alaska. It's a person just got to look for them.
With Alaska's short growing season, Paul had more market than product. On a trip to California, he learned of a system which increased his productivity. He was happy to bring it back home.
They developed a system called the plug system to transplant. You can transplant anything. Vegetables before that they thought could never be transplanted, such as squash or cucumber. It increases production, also extends the season, makes the season much earlier in the beginning of the season. This planting we're standing in right now is planting number 7.
You mean not this year?
That's this year.
This year? Your
This
seventh,
year.
not your 7th harvest from this
The
plot.
7th harvest.
Really?
I think if you farm for 200 years, you always want to learn something else. There's something that you're missing, something that you're going to do a little different next year. And it's, maybe it's kind of like the gold miner that knows that there's a gold there over the next hill someplace.
Okay, well this is an example of some of my dad's handiwork. Let me just take the top off because it's a batch kind of operation.
In the early 1960s, Jay Dearborn's father, Curtis, designed and constructed this device which removes peas from the pod. It certainly does not appear to be at all the sort of thing that would ever shuck a pea. It looks like maybe something that would make pea soup. I see it, but I still don't believe it. I don't... Curtis Dearborn was Alaska's first USDA horticulturist. True to his legacy, his family still lives on and works the farm he purchased in the 1950s. But now, let's get down to serious business.
And these are our carrots and our cucumbers.
Jay and his mother Doris invited us over to sample some of their finest. What wasn't fresh from the garden was homemade in their kitchen, and all of it was purely delicious. These are the Andean tubers you were telling me about you're experimenting with. What's the name of it?
Colloquially, they're known as oca in the Andes. Oxalis tuberosa is more of a terminology that we'd probably go by.
Are they a common food fare of the Andean Indians?
These are staple. Yeah, you can go down to the marketplace and buy
Eat them
these.
raw?
They eat them raw and cook them and dry them. Crunchy, sweet.
Interesting. In this lush patch of ground within the fertile valley, nurtured through roots sunk long ago by Curtis Dearborn, I found his family carefully working the soil and enjoying the fruits of their labor.
It's better than no apple at all. In a couple of weeks, it'll be all right.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
The lifestyle, for one thing, it's just being around here. It's a beautiful place.
I tend to pride myself on quality.
In the flower business, quality and beauty go hand in hand. Upon my arrival at Larson's Nursery Greenhouse, it became apparent that Kent Larson has a keen appreciation of both.
This is Celosia cristata.
Now, one might think that raising flowers and vegetables for small market sale is a pressureless lifestyle. Well, think again.
I found getting into the business of a greenhouse that competition's pretty fierce. So I've sort of geared to fresh herbs and the dried flower market.
Is this a common technique? I don't recall seeing dried flowers that look like that.
This is probably the most common technique is air drying because it's the simplest.
Do you market these through individuals primarily or through business houses?
Generally to craft shops.
Kent, as I have found with other Matanuska farmers, treasures life in the country and enjoys working the land, something I can appreciate.
Before I quit the job that I had in Wasilla to undertake this little business, I was about 30 pounds heavier, had high blood pressure, ulcers, and I was just not in very good shape at all.
Do you think you'll ever go back to the city life?
Boy, I really can't envision it. I don't know, I'm kind of in love with the open spaces and the peaceful nature of Alaska.
I think this is low enough for that slit to go through.
Here in the Inupiat community of Barrow, the welcome long light of April signals a time for excitement and preparation. While North Slope Barrow scientists now count and monitor the bowhead whales by listening to the songs they sing as they migrate north, their electronics only confirm what Eskimos have known for centuries. When the bowhead whale are due to arrive, and it's time to go whaling. Arnold Brower is a senior whaling captain of the over 40 crews here and has lived for nearly 70 years off the land and the sea. From his early childhood, whaling was the hub and the wheel of his entire life cycle.
As long as I remember, and as far as my mother and my father talked about Eskimo, they talked about whaling. These people handed down from one generation to the other. As for myself, I started out as a young boy to paddle as one of the members of the boat, and I paddle, even though I wanted to get up front once in a while, that I wasn't allowed.
Arnold, what makes a good whaleboat captain?
You have to be able to predict and know the surrounding and know the danger signs of the ice movements, ice conditions, and of course you have to be well trained enough to strike a whale the proper way that we are taught and trained. I mean, I'm out here to catch a whale.
Yeah.
It is a great time, and I say it's one of the greatest times of my life history to, if any kind of a hunt, whale hunting is the most exciting. You ready to go, okay?
As Arnold readied his boat for the hunt, he was joined by his crew, including son Arnold Jr. and other members of his large, remarkable family.
Right here. Now,
Arnold and his wife Emily have enjoyed nearly 50 years of a solid marriage, built on teamwork and mutual appreciation.
raising children and being a teamwork of this, I think we're unbeatable. We were young, and we were aggressive. We're just getting started. There's nothing I could do, practically anything.
This is one of the things they did very well. Their 17 children have presented Arnold and Emily with 53 grandchildren, at least at last count.
My heart is on the ice.
You don't make a wide enough angle lens to get everybody on film. And evenings are often spent reflecting in family pictures and stories. I understand you took all the girls as well as the boys hunting. Tell me a little bit. You girls enjoy hunting?
One time, my dad took me and my sister Vera seal hunting, and there was a lot of other crews out there seal hunting, and one of them happened to be our classmates, boys. This family, the boys, were shooting at the seals, but they weren't getting them. So me and Vera started to shoot at them, and then we were the ones catching the seals. We ended up getting 7 seals. And
the boys started saying, let's have a target match. And then they started and they have a target shooting, and none of them hit the target where they should hit it. Then finally they let Vera try with a rifle. And she fired at the target and bang, at the bullseye. It did right
Never
on.
took you out again, did it?
And the boys said, we'll all screamed up, it's an accident, it's just hit it by accident. And they let her try again, the second shot, bang, another bullseye. I was tired, but I was real happy and proud we got a whale, and I took that back home and told my mother. It's a people you have to share a lot. And when I first went out there and got the big whale, and I showed him, here it is. I got first mucked up for my whale. That whale.
When I grow up like you, I'm going to be a great whaler.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I learned from those old fellas.
Breaker, breaker, this is ABC base. ABC crew going out.
As the excitement of whale season arrives, I felt privileged to go out on the ice with Arnold and his crew to set up camp. After they scout out just the proper location, they set up their tent on the edge of the ice pack, ready their boat, and begin a 24-hour watch and wait.
Them whales know time. They know the time to come up here. And they pass and migrate every year on the same pattern. To recall back, I can stop for a moment and probably listen to the old-timers singing as they are waiting for those animals, those coyotes, to come up. I can listen to those. It brings back my relatives closer in some way and tie me down to my family. It brings back those memories.
As Arnold waited and watched, the rest of the over 40 whaling crews did so as well along the edge of the ice. Thus the Brower family was but part of the larger Barrow family, all eagerly awaiting the first successful hunt. After 23 days of waiting, the first whale was landed by Burton Rexford and crew. It was a time of hard work. It was a time of specific measuring of portions of whale to go to each crew. And Thanksgiving. Traditionally, the first whale is shared by the entire Barrow family, by the congregation in Burton's home. Apparently, they were all there. The season's first bowhead underscores once again the importance of sharing, of community, and of family. Three keystones upholding the culture of the Inupiat people. It reminds us as well that Arnold, Burton, and relatives are all part of the larger family of Barrow, a family that goes back for centuries, reunited each spring with the return of the bowhead whale. Juneau in southeast Alaska rests in a cup of land between mountains and sea. It is home port for the ferry system, the legislature, and some remarkably talented people. Molly Smith and Billy Ray are a creative couple who dare to take risks. Molly with her Perseverance Theater, and Bill as an artist who keeps stretching the boundaries of his vivid imagination. From his early childhood, with encouragement from his colorful father, Senator Bill Ray, Billy has been an artist. He won his first commission at age 16, and now his murals are an integral part of the Juneau scene.
A number of the murals I've worked on in town are school murals. This was the proposal that I submitted to Glacier Valley School. I scale it up from the miniature through a grid process, paint it, and then I can take it to the site and install it.
Bill, tell me, what are you doing here?
That is one of those questions for which I don't have a very good answer. I would call this experimentation. It's an interest I've had for maybe the last 5 or 6 years to try to learn about artwork that I don't know anything about, and how to do it, how to work with different ways of seeing things or trying things.
So there's no, it seems to be an underlying motif here that I am probably better not suggest what it might be, but television viewing or outer space.
Part of doing work that is rooted in ideas as opposed to specific imagery, I think, is that you leave room for the viewer to
interpret it.
Yeah, that hopefully you'll trigger some things in people with kinds of imagery, and then they get involved more because hopefully they'll be curious.
Well, it does that, I must admit. It does lead one into all sorts of nooks and crannies mentally.
How the mind works, how all that works, the mystery of it, keeps me curious about what the heck is going on. You know, what is all this? I would like to think of the rest of my life as an artist, or the rest of my life, period, as being one big, long experiment.
You and Molly first met in a play, is that correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. We were in a play together in high school, and for me, that was just goofing around, and for her, she was, you know, working for the future.
And of course, since I was interested in theater, when auditions came up for Midsummer Night's Dream, I auditioned. And who should I find on stage with me but a young man named Bill Ray. And he played Bottom, the ass, and I played Titania, who was the fairy queen. And he drove me nuts through the whole first part of the rehearsal process because he was continually upstaging me on stage.
Yeah, she talks about how I was in that first play, and when we were 17, that I was very busy upstaging her. I didn't even know what upstaging meant. I was just goofing
But you
around.
accomplished that in it.
Yeah, and she was serious enough to feel upstaged, you know. So.
It was actually opening night when we were standing underneath an arbor holding hands, and he had the ass's head on. And for some reason I was nervous, and he just squeezed my hand and said, "You're going to be just great." And from then on, I was head over heels. And he was 17 then, I was 16.
You ever think you'd marry an ass? Do you and Molly draw inspiration from each other?
Molly's always been a kind of inspiration. I always think of her as being much more of an artist than I am. I've always come from much more of a technical approach to artwork, and she's always worked with ideas. And it's just been a recent thing for me to get involved with ideas in artwork as opposed to just images. So she's the muse.
She's opened more doors for you than perhaps you've closed on her, right?
Yeah,
Good.
easily.
My family moved here when I was 16. I was a teenager. I'd done a lot of theater work. And when I came here, then I just made a decision that what I wanted to do was to start a theater in Alaska. I really think it has to do with an Alaskan personality and drive. I really do. I don't think that this is a theater that should have happened, but indeed it did because people wanted it to happen. And when you want it to happen, it's, I get really driven just by the scenery here, by the mountains here. And when you see that, you know how far you can go, which is up.
That's you too, John. Okay, just go back from we thought it was fun, but my mom, she would get angry.
Molly's faith in the creativity and talent of Alaskans has never wavered. It was her determination and drive that led to the opening of the Perseverance Theater over 12 years ago.
There's a lot of love and there's a lot of passion, and with that as fuel, you can really do anything.
Who would suspect such a powerful monster in the garden?
I know that's what built this theater and that's what keeps it running.
Well, I think she has a real genius for whatever it is she does. There's something about the spirit and the energy that all of this engenders.
If people are energized, and if the work is good, then I think your potential is unlimited. I really do.
She is able to see what people can do before they even realize it.
The major difference between Alaskan actors and actors elsewhere is that Alaskan actors will try anything.
Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it!
Here I'm doing an incredible amount of things, and it's mostly because of Molly. She says, "Why don't you do this?" And I think, "I'm not sure I can do that." And she says, "Of course you can do that." And so you do it.
The whole relationship between the actor and the director is incredibly important in terms of trust.
The Cyclops, Polyphemus.
When I feel that I couldn't do it or I can't make it, Molly will be there and I trust her.
For anything like this to happen, you have to have somebody that has vision and somebody that you respect, and she has infinite respect and love from all of us.
I would hope that what the theater would leave would be a real belief in Alaskan talent and the versatility and abilities and potential of Alaskans is thick and dense and rich, and it should be something which is mined continually by those of us in the performing arts.
Molly and Billy continue to experiment, to take risks, and push their creativity to the outer limits. Inspired by the beauty of their surroundings, they in turn inspire others. Certainly they have both proven that there are no boundaries to one's potential accomplishments when explored with daring and perseverance.
far as I'm concerned, Sitka, Alaska is the pick of the litter here in Southeast. It's temperate, it's maritime, it's never too hot, it's never too cold, and it's beautiful. The people are absolutely delightful. I guess I'm really satisfied. It's like finding the right relationship. I'm very, very comfortable with this place. I really have no desire to look elsewhere for anything else.
Burgess Bowder and his wife Alita wanted a home in a small coastal community where they could enjoy freedoms not readily found in the South 48. And they found them here in Sitka in the early 70s. Burgess built their home adjacent to his own private duck pond, then populated them both, sometimes to the dismay of Alita, with a wide array of non-housebroken birds.
Oh, they're just nice and peaceful to look at. This is my relaxation. I really waste an awful lot of time watching my birds.
When Burgess isn't watching his birds, he can be found at his veterinary clinic, where he tends to the rest of Sitka's animal citizens, even those who can't afford the service.
It's Rompin and Ketaset.
And here at Sitka's Raptor Center, Burgess has volunteered hundreds of hours patching up resident eagles. Are you just training him to do this with a purpose in mind, an end purpose? What is the end purpose?
The purpose of having him trained to return to the whistle is that he will be able to have the freedom of the skies over Sitka and still the safety of our center here. We can expect him to possibly live in excess of 50 years.
Broken wings, if they're acute, they can be fixed. Most of the time these animals come in and their wings have been broken for a long time.
Are many of them shot and wounded or something, or do you ever encounter that?
We do have a number. We have one with only 1 foot who was a gunshot victim. A number. 80% of the injuries that we see are caused either directly or indirectly by people.
I like to just look at them. They make me feel good. Okay. I just like to look at the birds. And a lot of the injuries that you see are 2-month-old compound fractures. Both the proximal and the distal fragments will be sticking out of the skin, and they're just covered with all kinds of rotten tissue. These birds are never going to fly again. So what we did was we tried one. That's not really very good science, but we tried one, and we took, and it's just a simple, nice fracture. But it had been sticking through the skin. It was rotten, so we removed the dead bone, and then we took the ulna from another bird. This is called a homograph. Same species. We used an eagle of a different individual. We took a piece of bone from a dead eagle that was a roadkill, and we used that fragment, which is about 3 inches long, as an intramedullary plug to provide support for new bone growth. And you can see this right here. That's periosteal bone growth.
But new bone will grow around it.
You bet new bone grew around it, and the bird can fly now.
That's right.
So it may be one of those minor little contributions that does something for the species.
There's a bit of salt-seasoned romance in the thought of owning an island, a chance to savor some solitude, create a bit of spare time, and to relish some freedom. Burgess and Alita bought their island sight unseen before even moving to Sitka. And then they built on it, what else but a lighthouse.
I certainly have always found kind of just a magical allure for lighthouses. They're going to vanish.
When did you start?
It seemed like the thing to do. Started in '83. It was better. It seemed that there would be more potential to rent it as a lodge than a California Contemporary or a geodesic dome out here.
But this is an official lighthouse, I understand.
It is official. Well, it's private aid to get navigation.
I say. What role did you play, Alita?
I did all the landscaping.
And the sheetrock.
The sheetrock.
Burgess not only can wield either a scalpel or wood saw with finesse, but a mean mop as well. You can add to his talents as vet and carpenter those of a bustling innkeeper. He personally sees to the comfort and then swamps up after even intruders like me, who may rob him of solitude, but repay him with deep appreciation for his island's spectacular beauty.
I really think that it has made, people's lives better. It may just be for a day, but, for that day, I made a contribution. Yeah, I was in an academic environment before, and I really was a square peg in a round hole, and the contribution I always wanted to make never seemed to materialize. So when I started this thing, there were a couple of people who who circulated a rather malicious canard that this was in fact a cooling tower for a thermonuclear reactor, possibly a missile silo. Being out here, it gave me a time to, reflect on just about everything from the universe to viruses to love to life to death. I've really come to the conclusion that we're here to learn, I guess to learn, and maybe to teach too. But I really would like to make a contribution. I want my epitaph to be, he flew into life's mountain with his afterburner on.
Some folks might charge that Manic Burgess Bowder is crazy as a loon. It's a charge to which I suspect Burgess would plead happily guilty. En route, I found it exhilarating to fly wing on Burgess for a brief moment. My hope for him is that his fuel never exhausts, his wings not stall out, that his final impact inscribe on life's mountain an appropriate postscript of that epitaph reading, crazy? Perhaps, but he darn sure cared. Most folk, when they see a tidal pool, see little more than just a puddle. Seems that some eyes just can't seem to penetrate beneath the surface tension of the water. Daisy Lee Bitter, however, not only helps sharpen up dull vision, but prompt one to probe beneath the surface tension of the mind into a world of wonders through which too few of us have ever taken time to travel.
Really
Something to have Kachemak Bay right in your own backyard,
huh? Nice meeting you.
Good to see you. As an Anchorage biology teacher for some 30 years, Daisy Lee Bitter loved to bring students to visit Kachemak Bay on field trips. So after her so-called retirement, she decided to move here full-time and spend every day immersed in the beauty, rhythm, and wonder of life in a marine environment. Look at here.
Oh, we
Holy
got a
mackerel.
sharp-shinned hawk chasing him.
Yep. There were two of them. Did you see them?
The place I really want to show you is the Center for Alaskan Coastal Studies. I've got a lot of critters I want to show you over there.
Daisy Lee exults in sharing her critters with others, and though officially retired, she sure hasn't slowed down.
It depends on the person's definition of retire. If it means vegetate, no. I could never go for that. We spend a lot of time fishing and clamming and, things outdoors, so it's really tough to get the house clean sometimes.
So what do you think? Is it a lot different, a little bit different?
She's been too busy earning awards like Marine Educator of the Year. And now her classroom is expanded to include all of Kachemak Bay. What is that?
Starfish.
Right there. That little one right there.
How they blend in so well.
Yeah.
The center occupies a special place in Daisy Lee's heart, and with her guidance, those who come here find they pass through a portal into new worlds they'd not known existed.
So I want you to imagine yourself as any kind of life form that lives out here in this area that we've been exploring for the last few days.
Well, when we first started up, I was the volunteer, and I was, I was going on every trip, thousands of volunteer hours, but we have a really well-trained, dedicated corps of volunteers. We are a scientific, educational, nonprofit organization unique unto ourselves.
Kachemak Bay is one of the richest marine environments anywhere, and as such, like a lodestone, draws people like Daisy Lee to seek its treasure.
Look, Jay, there's a sea star humped over something. Let's take a look. Yes. When they hump like this, they're usually having lunch. Oh, wow, look in here. Well, I'll remove a few things so we can get a better look at it. Oh, it's eating a little neck clam. It actually extrudes its stomach outside of its body and into the clam, and then chemically breaks down that soft tissue of the clam. When we find just the right sea urchin, you can have a gourmet treat and taste the sea urchin eggs wrapped in that sea lettuce. Jay, I see some big, beautiful sunflower stars out here. Maybe we can get Mike McBride to go out and get a couple for us.
Sure. Mike brought us a beautiful specimen, but I'm afraid we interrupted his dinner.
Oh, good.
Here's your friend, Daisy.
Oh, right. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Our boots are obviously not deep enough to go retrieve them. Thank you so much. Oh, and look, it was feeding. That is the stomach extruded outside of the body, Jay. How about that?
Must lead a tranquil knife, not a sign of an ulcer. Huh?
The sunflower star is an echinoderm, a spiny-skinned animal, but let's take a look at the other side of it here. Okay, this is
Don't
the
let him
top.
consume you. You've got his
no.
stomach in your hand.
Right.
If you disappear, I'll grab your ankles.
Okay, Mike, looks like you've got a male and female dungy there.
Isn't that terrific? And this is one of the only females I've ever seen like this that's still so soft. When I found them in the water, she was clasped in the belly-to-belly embrace just like that, with him protecting her, see?
Right.
She's so soft that anything could eat her. So a sea otter, river otter, crow, anything would try to get her.
Here. I don't have the usual kitchen tools with me, so...
Nor any ketchup, huh?
Right. So maybe I'll go for this one. It's a little easier to get out.
I see.
Okay. And I'll let you wrap it up yourself so you can have it just the way you want it. Sea urchin eggs a la sea lettuce.
Not broiled or fricasseed or scrambled, just plain, huh?
Fresh
You
from
recommend it?
Kachemak Bay.
You recommend it, all right.
Right.
Here goes.
I'll eat one, too.
Yep! Just kidding.
I thought it was going to come in my back.
I hope you got to start to look at her face.
This is Daisy Lee Bitter. Kachemak Bay probably has a greater diversity of echinoderms, you know, those spiny-skinned animals like sea urchins.
Daisy Lee is not attempting to serve up such gourmet fare as sea urchins to the squeamish or unsuspecting. She can be found broadcasting her radio program, Kachemak Currents.
Fragile little... It's on the natural history, mainly of Kachemak Bay. While on the beach, please don't collect any living animal. For each individual, even a sea star, plays an important role in the marine ecosystem.
She reaches a wide audience with a common desire to preserve this special part of the world.
The key is always education, and if they don't know anything about it, it's hard to be aware.
People have written voluminously.
Daisy Lee and her friend Laura Hendricks are working to preserve another important part of life here, the stories and photos of the pioneers who settled this area.
Here's another one that I thought was so interesting, Daisy, is the fact that that's a camping and hunting picture, but it's the whole family together.
Right, this is what we call the morning sun star. Monica, have you ever touched it? Ooh, anybody want to touch this? What's it feel like?
Rough.
Yeah, it's rough, isn't it?
Tell me
Does it feel like
what you appreciate most about working with the children.
they're just so eager to learn everything they possibly can, and just the joy of seeing them and learn it and how excited they get about it. And once in a while we find some that are bright red like this too.
She seems to be able to create this thing called the learning moment. You can kind of catch it if you pay close attention. All of a sudden the person is ready to hear what you have to say, and then you have to be looking for it and then to say it. But Daisy Lee seems to create that learning moment. She constantly can just hit people at the right time and with the right words, and all of a sudden their ears perk up and they pay attention, their eyebrows go up, and you can tell, oh boy, they're going to remember what I'm going to tell them now. And I've seen Daisy Lee do it so often. I try, and many other teachers try to copy that.
And we often call those blennies.
Blennies?
Right, and sometimes in Japan they serve them in soup.
Oh.
I feel no shame in getting just as excited as they do and openly admit that there are lots of things I don't know. Yeah. Here, why don't we pass this around? I think the greatest challenge is finding time to do all the exciting things there are to do in the world.
Finding time to do it.
Right. You have to constantly prioritize, and yet there are still things when you start prioritizing that you don't have time to do, but you really like to do them too, because the world is such a fascinating place. The Scouter. I'd like to leave with as many people as possible a love of the natural world and everything that lives in it. As Rachel Carson said, the awe and wonder of the mysteries of life.
Well, my family and I have picked quite a few salmons from our set net sites here on the beach in Naknek and Bristol Bay. My old friend and ex-fishing partner has been at it even longer. Born not far from here, almost 60 years ago. Highliner Jimmy Drew has fished these waters for almost 50 years, dating clear back to the days of the sailboat. And of course, it can be a pretty tough life. But one of the things about Jimmy you first notice is his ability to laugh at just about everything, and that includes me. Particularly when he first took me on board his boat as a green partner over 25 years ago.
I watched him one time. I said, Jay, I'll time you. See how long it takes you to take that fish out of that net.
Oh.
Tangled. You know, there was no head left. The tail was so skinny, about that long, and the body was stretched, and the web was still on the body. 20 minutes later. That was when we first started, you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Both my family and the Drews have been fishing these waters since the sailboat days prior to '52. But Jim soaked his gumboots in a lot more bilge water than I. He's been doing it since he was a kid in the 40s. Certainly the old sailboat fishermen were a tough breed. Talk about limited entry. Back then, entry into the fishery was automatically limited only to those hardy enough to endure conditions, which by contrast make today's powerboat fishing seem a piece of cake. Your old double ender.
Yeah, the old double ender. It's the old fishing days.
Jim, you of course were born up here, and we met, I think, back in the late or middle 40s. Worked together over the years doing several different things, fished together, trapped together, hunted together. Tell me a little bit about the differences between then and now.
Well, those days it was more or less manual. Everything was, there was no power whatsoever. In those days we didn't have any communications, no radios. Nowadays we got radios, we got survival suits, we got life jackets.
And of course power.
And power.
One of the hazards, of course, of no power in these sailboats, I would think, would be if you went dry on a sandbar. And particularly if a storm was coming up and the tide was coming in. What did you do under those circumstances?
we just prayed a lot.
Prayed a lot. Well, back some years ago, of course, I also was a drift gill netter rather than the set netter. And we fished together, and our wives did the set netting, using, of course, the old wooden cork nets, and struggling with them by themselves on the beach while you and I were out in the boat sport fishing by contrast. Tell me, what do you figure they weighed, those nets?
Oh, golly, I'd say 200 pounds anyway, you know.
And they used to handle them by themselves, didn't
Oh,
they?
yeah. Yeah, they used to carry them up.
Do you think we could get away with that anymore?
I doubt it, Jay.
Bristol Bay is the world's richest red salmon fishery. Every summer, a silver horde of salmon come back to the bay, bringing with them fishermen eager to harvest them. To many, fishing is a real family affair. Nowadays, I no longer drift in the boat, but set net on the beach with Bella and my children. Only 2 nets away, 3 generations of Drews gather together to share the hard work and long hours, and between tides, look forward to renewing old friendships.
We all get together in the summertime. We all come down. I drift, and the wife and the kids on the beach.
You've got 3 daughters. They all set net, do they?
Right.
You've got your grandson fishes with you on the boat here, Jimmy Joe. It's kind of like a collective family gathering, too. You not only have your own family get together, perhaps as we do and you do, but you see all sorts of other people you never see the rest of the year.
A lot of your old friends that fished for years with you and competed with you, you know. And
you don't see them any other time
of
the year.
No, you don't. And you come down here and we all get together. And
fishing can be a miserable thing that makes you appreciate even more getting off the water and back home. But then it has days like today, which are pretty hard to beat anywhere, that make it all worthwhile.
I think it's a challenge. If I didn't have anybody to challenge with, there wouldn't be any fun in fishing.
Obscene amount of gear you drifters get, Jimmy, compared to us poor old set netters. Well, you've been doing this now for 51 years. Do you ever consider retiring?
It's in your blood. You gotta get out there and do it, Jay. And
you're never going to retire, Jim. You got bilge water in your blood. I'm convinced of it.
When spring comes, you know, everybody starts getting ready, then I'm ready to go again.
Jimmy makes no romantic claims about why he still fishes. As a matter of fact, he'd laugh and say it's just for the money. Well, that may be in part true, but there's little doubt in my mind that he'd still be fishing even if he had to pay for the privilege. For commercial fishing, to those engaged in it, seems to rub off not only on the hands, but on the heart. I suspect most Alaskans have their own version of and vision for this great land. I know I do. And like most of you, certainly much of the lore and love of my Alaska stems from its people. Of them, as most who know him would agree, there are few finer than my old friend and fishing partner, Highliner Jim Drew.
All kidding aside, Jay, you're one of the best partners I ever had.